A U.S. appeals court ruled that most of President Trump's global tariffs were illegal. In a startling verdict on Friday before the Labor Day weekend, a panel of judges said Trump had exceeded his authority. The appeals court upheld an earlier ruling by the Court of International Trade that Trump wrongfully invoked an emergency law to impose tariffs. The appeals court judges sent the case back to the lower court to determine if it applied to everyone affected by tariffs or just the parties involved in the case. In the meantime, the tariffs imposed were allowed to remain in place as the litigation proceeds. With the legislature's ruling, analysts say the case will almost certainly end up before the U.S. Supreme Court. The court said, and I quote, "The statute bestows significant authority on the president to undertake a number of actions in response to a declared national emergency, but none of these actions explicitly include the power to impose tariffs, duties, or the like, or the power to tax." In response, Trump on social media said, and I quote, "All tariffs are still in effect. A highly partisan appeals court incorrectly said that our tariffs should be removed, but they know the United States will win in the end." He added, if these tariffs ever went away, it would be a total disaster for the country. Ahead of the ruling, Trump's cabinet officials had warned the court that declaring tariffs unlawful would have a devastating impact on American foreign policy. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warned of dangerous diplomatic embarrassment. The administration filed statements by Bessent, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio in the U.S. Court of Appeals before the verdict. They were filed in support of a request that any ruling against the administration be immediately put on hold until the U.S. Supreme Court issues a final decision. Lutnick says failing to do so would have devastating and dire consequences, but the appeals court ruled against the administration. Still, the court guided the lower court to follow a recent Supreme Court ruling on Trump's executive order on automatic birthright citizenship. The Supreme Court had ordered that judges should limit their rulings to the parties involved in the case rather than applying across the country. Known as universal injunctions, the scope of that verdict leaves many questions unanswered. And for the latest, our correspondent Susan Teherani reports from New York.
A federal appeals court has ruled that most of President Trump's tariffs are illegal and that it exceeded his authority under the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The 7-4 decision found that Congress and not the White House holds the power to impose tariffs. The ruling strikes at the heart of President Trump's aggressive trade agenda, though it leaves his steel and aluminum tariffs untouched. For now, tariffs stay in place until October 14th, giving the Trump administration time to appeal. All eyes are now on the Supreme Court, where the administration is expected to fight to preserve Trump's signature trade tool, setting up a major showdown over presidential powers on the one hand and economic emergencies on the other. Susan Teherani reporting from New York for WION World is One.